Welcome back once again. Let me start this video by stating there is nothing hidden under the surface of the earth that will not be revealed on a very special day. I'm going to play the video for you to hear clearly what Sowore came out recently and made as a statement regarding Mazin Namano Kanu's conviction and Mazin Namano Kanu's stay in Sokoto prison. Sincerely speaking, this is shocking, as that when Mazin Namano Kanu heard this particular revelation made by Sowore, remember, Sowore is someone who has often and always stand as intermediary between the masses and the government, and he has stood the test of time by stating and clearly making truth revelation regarding what is actually happening. I'm going to play the video for you to hear clearly. Whenever Sowore makes statements, regarding a lot of things, everyone needs to pay attention to what he has stated. I'm going to play the video for you to hear how Sowore came out recently and made a very clear revelation stating that Mazin Namano Kanu's pre-planned, conviction under a repeal law, and even the plan they actually had to carry out on him failed, probably because of the free Mazin Namano Kanu protest that was actually held few months ago. And so Sowore came out and made clear revelation, as if that is not enough. On the part of Malami, remember, he is facing exactly what he actually situated. This is Malami, one of the persons who masterminded Mazin Namano Kanu's rendition from Kenya up to this point. Now, as Sowore came out and revealed that Malami is currently pleading and begging him to call his lawyers to come and rescue him out of the same hands of APC and the government he initiated in this particular country. I'm going to play all the series of videos for you to hear clearly what he has stated. But before I do that, listen attentively to this particular statement made by this lawmaker in the House of Representatives, where he stated that what on earth is actually happening, that if this government is not suitable enough to tackle the insecurity and other vices affecting this country, then they should shut down the House, National Assembly. Listen attentively to him. And one of the triggering things is that this man was putting up the cap and the logo of Bola Ahmed Tinubu while making this statement. Watch, and when we come back, we'll continue.
Mr. Speaker, we can even declare legislative emergency. Close the House, shut it up. Who are you legislating for? What laws are you making when the country is running in blood? The country is running in blood and tears. You cannot go, the farmers cannot go to farm. Our traders cannot go to market. Worshippers cannot go to mosque, cannot go to churches. Then what are you legislating here? Mr. Speaker, if the government is not prepared to actually do the right thing that will protect the lives and property of our people, I urge on you, I urge on this honorable house, as a house of the people of Nigeria, to stand up to pay the supreme cost. And that is no more than to shut this house down and to call emergency on any legislative issue and wait until the right thing is taken by the government of the day. Mr. Speaker, I also want to believe we are equally responsible. We should also go down to our constituencies, civil, civil vigilante. Let's go and reorganize our vigilante groups. We take commands and take charges of such civil organizations to see how we can salvage and protect our country, Nigeria. It's for us to have absolute safety. Mr. Speaker, Nigeria must have absolute protection of the lives and property of our own people. This is my take, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome back once again. You listen attentively to this particular lawmaker who made this clear statement without any fear nor favor that what on earth are they actually doing in the National Assembly when farmers cannot go to farm, the masses cannot sleep with their two eyes closed, and a lot of things are actually happening. Fulani bandits and a lot of them are unaliving farmers within their farmlands, destroying their crops and doing a lot of things. That what on earth are they actually doing in the National Assembly? These were the things Mazin Namano Kanu stated like a prophet before now. Not until this was actually revealed by Sowore, stating that the initial plan they had on Mazin Namano Kanu was to do this and do a lot of things. Let me leave you to listen attentively to what Sowore stated, and when we come back, I'll exactly show you what Malami stated and other things that are actually trending within this in a political space.
I had a lot of conversation about Nnamdi Kanu's situation, including revealing to the Nigerian people that his trial was pre-planned. Everything that eventually played out on the day of his conviction had already been exposed by me on November 5. Maybe we are only lucky that we fought a bit through the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest to have saved Nnamdi Kanu from a hangman's noose. They were going to sentence him to death. That was the plan. And you can check my Twitter and Facebook posts on November 5, because I was giving that information in advance. They also, as a result of that, got very upset that we had a protest in Abuja. They shot at us, tear gas, arrested his lawyers, myself, later, and took us to the court outside of, within Abuja, but, near Kuje, and sent us to prison for 4 days. After we were granted bail on a Friday, the judge was supposed to sign off on our bail paper anyway. He didn't come back until Monday. They were already setting the agenda for Nnamdi Kanu's conviction, or whatever they were going to do. But when they realized that maybe this is not popular or not going to be popular, they kind of pulled back a bit and they did the life imprisonment. And they have also realized that even the life imprisonment has not stopped his life or the life of what he stood for. Because it came at a time that, like I've always said, he prophetically predicted some of the things that are happening in Nigeria now. And when he was eventually convicted, those things have come full circle in terms of terrorism, the unchecked activities of the people you call terrorists or bandits who have been given preferential treatments in Nigeria over time. They always have the right. They can drive around in their convoys with vehicles seized from the Nigerian army. One of them wore a uniform of a police commissioner, an assistant police commissioner. He wore his uniform to town. They were carrying their magazines and their heavy-duty weapons and ammunition and addressing press conferences. I insist that till date, the only evidence that was adduced against Nnamdi Kanu in this trial, the whole trial, was that he had a microphone and he had a radio transmitter and his underwear, both top and bottom, that he found in a hotel. Every other evidence they claimed was against him were things that were circumstantial. Oh, he said that the people should kill police, even when he was not in the country. Oh, he was the one who made NSAS to become what it is. But there are celebrities in Nigeria who claim they started NSAS. I started NSAS in Abuja. And I was one who gathered a lot of people that joined NSAS by calling them individuals, some of the celebrities. So if those ones are being celebrated for doing NSAS, why is Nnamdi Kanu being sent to prison for life? Just for speaking on the day of NSAS to say, oh, do this or whatever they said he said. So everything they accuse him of are things that they had no evidence caused any problem, that they adduced caused. They even accuse him of killing Gulag while he was in detention. I know something about being in DSS detention. You have zero access to communication. Even if you smuggle something and they have a way of monitoring you. So how could somebody like that be sentenced to death? And a terrorist from one of the Boko Haram commander was sentenced to 20 years in prison. That is why Nigeria is where it is today. Some people in our animal farm, some animals are superior to others. And until that is addressed, until the justice applies to everybody in Nigeria, you are not going to get peace without justice. That's what so many of us have been saying, whether you like to hear it or not. But I feel it has come full circle now.
Malami sent people to me and our lawyer to come and be bailing him out of Kuje. He suddenly found out that we are the most credible people can do. I'm sure El-Rufai must have been looking for a way now to reach out, because all this shouting about bleeding of noses to get sympathy. I'm not saying that his nose is not bleeding, and I call on the government to stop his nose bleeds. It must give him good doctors, or take him to Kaduna to go to the hospital he built to stop the bleeding. If you are in power in this country, like a governor, head of state or president, vice president, senators, you should take care of the prisons in case you find yourselves there. I don't know what his legal strategies are, but all we know is that he's being held by his friends in the APC. And this is the strategy they used to use on others. I'm surprised that his nose is bleeding at the ICPC. When did his nose start bleeding? When he was governor, was his nose bleeding? But I'm not making fun of him, because I don't support any form of impunity against anybody. But even while we are condemning impunity, we must also not let history evade us by reminding ourselves that these guys created the monsters that is now consuming them.
Back once again, listen attentively to what Sowore stated and the expose he made recently, that this was actually the plan, if not for the intervention of the Free Mazin Namano Kanu protest that held months ago, and all what the international community is doing and the pressure being mounted, this would actually not be the case. So it is like Justice James Omotosho read out exactly what his paymasters asked him to read. On the other hand, Malami is now pleading and calling on Sowore to call his lawyers. Likewise, El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, that they should actually come and rescue him out of the same persons they masterminded and brought into government. That is why Sowore has distanced himself from the ADC political space and other things. That these were the set of persons who did a lot of things and ignited the institutions to carry out unlegislative powers. Look at Malami was one of the persons who renditioned Mazin Namano Kanu from Kenya and brought him to Nigeria. He's actually facing trial. He was the Attorney General of the Federation during the late Muhammadu Buhari's administration. When even the court stated that Mazin Namano Kanu should be freed, the same Malami sued and sent an ex parte motion and refused to actually obey the court orders. Now the same court, the same institution he empowered, is the institution that is biting him. Now he's calling on the masses. He's calling on the masses, crying and yawning. These were the things Mazin Namano Kanu stated and saw, and stated that these people, the ideology of these people and the likes of Igbos are actually unbelievable. Now, stories reaching us recently is the fact that the Inspector General of Police have actually, resigned, and he has actually been replaced by another person. But on the contrary, a lot of persons started stating, were this not the reasons why Mazin Namano Kanu is stating that the marginalization the Igbo persons actually facing is getting beyond hands? As we speak, after the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, the most senior, most qualified, most overlooked person that is supposed to take over from the former Inspector General of Police is actually an Igbo man in the person of DIG Frank Mba. He is the most serving officer in the Nigerian police force. He has actually been bypassed once again in the appointment of Inspector General of Police, as the AIG Tunji Dusi has actually been elevated despite being junior in rank to this particular Frank Mba. Now, Mba's exclusion marks the second consecutive instance under the current administration where he has been overlooked despite holding the highest ranking position among eligible deputy inspector generals and having sufficient years left in service. In 2023, look at it. This same Frank Mba was also passed over in favor of former Inspector General of Police being Okpetekun, who had few years remaining and was from the South-Southwest regional bloc as Dusi. The repeated bypass has left the Southeast region without representation at the top of Nigeria's police force despite producing the most senior eligible officer. Force records confirms that Mba was at the top of the hierarchy as at the time of both transitions, yet appointments continue to favor officers from the same region, raising concerns about the observance of federal character principles. Security sources and lawmakers note that the extension of Okpetekun's tenure in 2023 shifted the succession's widows, effectively blocking Mbas from assuming a said position. Now, the 2026 appointment followed a similar pattern, consolidating leadership within the same regional bloc, while the Southeast region excluded. Retired officers, senior officers described this as a departure from the long-standing tradition where IGP appointments typically followed seniority among serving DIGs. The absence of an official explanation had further strengthened the perception that the decision was politically and ethically determined rather than institutionally guided. This is exactly what is happening. I decided to bring all of what is happening to your view for you to see exactly what is happening and for you to actually react on the comment section. What is your take towards what Sowore has stated and actually what is happening within this appointment where this man was actually neglected? Don't forget to share, like, and also hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell and click on the like button so let's get information promptly when we drop them here. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.